When it comes to professional wrestling booking, splitting up tag teams seems almost as inevitable as the tide, even if that does come to the dismay of many fans, with some perfectly good tag teams disbanding only to become worse tag teams. Although I will admit that occasionally it does happen for the better. But whatever the case, tag teams breaking up only to become other tag teams is the topic of this episode, because today, thank you to Edgar Perez and the rest of my awesome Patreon supporters. Thank all of you so much. Alright, unsurprisingly, this sort of thing has happened a lot in the House of McMahon. So, look at these teams as
I can't believe you forgot to mention this team.
I haven't even mentioned a single team yet. I don't know how you could possibly...
And furthermore, you overlooked all of the teams I was pondering. How silly of you.
As I was about to say, this list is not a ranked list, so don't think of this as a top 10. We're merely going in chronological order, and as I was mentioning, this is just a small sampling. So if there are other teams you want to mention, please let me know down in the comments. And since you're commenting, please also make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, as it really does help. Anyway, with this being said, before I get interrupted again, let's get into the list. After losing and destroying the original Intercontinental title belt, Greg Valentine would move on to the tag team scene by partnering up with Brutus Beefcake to form the Dream Team. Originally, the duo was managed by the luscious Johnny V and Jimmy Hart. However, the Mouth of the South would leave to join the Hart Foundation, but we'll be getting to them in just a little bit. Now, going back to the Dream Team, Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine would defeat the US Express of Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo for the WWF World Tag Team Championship, although they did so by rubbing a lit cigar into the eyes of Barry Windham. From here, the team would lose the tag titles to the British Bulldogs at WrestleMania 2, with WrestleMania 3 serving as an even bigger turning point for the team, because even though they were successful in defeating the Rougeau brothers, Valentine would grow frustrated with Brutus and wind up turning on him in favor of teaming with Dino Bravo instead, thus forming something of a new Dream Team and Brutus going babyface. Although this new Dream Team wouldn't last for very long, as Valentine felt he had no real chemistry with Bravo. Following this, Greg would have an off-again, on-again career with the WWF as well as being a singles wrestler. This lasted until he formed the tag team of Rhythm and Blues with the Honky Tonk Man. And this team was yet once again managed by Jimmy Hart. The team mostly feuded with the Bushwhackers, but allegedly the plan was supposed to have Greg Valentine feuding with the Honky Tonk Man down the road, although this never came into fruition, with both men leaving the company in 1991. Although Greg would come back here and there, and also the two of them would team up outside of the WWF in the Northern States Wrestling Alliance, where the two would become tag team champions. Moreover, Rhythm and Blues
How come you didn't mention that Diamond Dallas Page was the limo driver, huh?
I didn't think it was relevant, but thanks for interjecting yet again. Originally forming Lutte Internationale in 1986, the team of Rick Martel and Tom Zank formed the Can-Am Connection, short for the Canadian and American Connection, with Martel being Canadian and Tom Zank being American. Now, this act would quickly find itself in the WWF. However, Zank would end up exiting the company, thus leaving Martel on his own. Now, at the time, they were feuding with the team of Haku and Tama, who would continue the rivalry even afterwards by mocking Zank for leaving and attacking Martel while he was in singles competition. This incident led to Tito Santana, who was doing the Spanish commentary at the time, getting involved and coming to the aid of Martel, thus forming the brand new team of Strike Force, named as such due to Santana promising that he would be striking Haku and Tama with force. This prompted Martel to come up with a new name. Now eventually, Martel would turn on Tito Santana, and he would also develop his new character of the model Rick Martel, spraying his own personal cologne called Arrogance with his really over-the-top mister. WWE Hall of Famers, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart are of course the OGs that started it all. But after Bret entered singles competition, the Anvil would find himself in a new foundation with Bret's brother Owen. Although this new team didn't last very long, resulting in Owen having to find a brand new partner, which he did with Koko B. Weir, and the two formed the team of High Energy. This was followed by Owen teaming with his brother Bret as well as his other brothers at Survivor Series, which led to his heel turn and subsequent teaming with Yokozuna and the British Bulldog. And then this was followed by Bret, Anvil, the Bulldog, and Owen all re-teaming to form the Hart Foundation stable, where everything came back full circle. Many of us were first introduced to the one Billy Gunn as part of a tag team with his kayfabe brother of Bart Gunn, where the two would form the Smoking Guns. But then going into the Attitude Era, and the two would have a shift in their personas, with Bart Gunn entering the Brawl for All, which wasn't really all that great, and Billy Gunn entering a brand new tag team with the Road Dogs to form the New Age Outlaws. But we're still not done, because afterwards, the Road Dogg would find himself in yet another tag team, this time partnering up with K-Quick, otherwise known as R-Truth, although both men would find themselves reunited yet again in TNA. Okay, so this one is a particularly noteworthy one. Stone Cold Steve Austin wound up partnering up with none other than his rival Shawn Michaels, and the two would win the WWF World Tag Team Championships. However, after a backstage brawl with Bret Hart in July of 1997, Shawn Michaels would find himself suspended from the company, and thus the tag team titles were vacated, and a tournament was held up to determine the new champions. And this tournament was won by none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin and his brand new partner of Dude Love, thus resulting in Austin relinquishing the tag titles only to get them back again, only to eventually have to forfeit them one more time after his neck injury. And of course, going forward from here, Foley would find himself with a whole host of different partners, such as Terry Funk, Kane, as well as The Rock, making Mick Foley one of the few people to win tag team gold with both Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Steve Austin. But before I get interrupted again, I suppose I should also mention that Austin would form the two-man power trip with Triple H. Not that that's important. Okay, so now we have the team of Marcus Alexander Bagwell and, well, we have some options with that. But let's just begin with the team of Stars and Stripes, which saw Marcus Bagwell teaming up with the Patriot. They formed on an episode of WCW Worldwide and would end up winning the WCW Tag Team Championships. They would eventually drop them to Harlem Heat, and the Patriot would leave WCW soon after. But then, keeping with the patriotic gimmick, Buff Bagwell would form a new team with Scotty Riggs that was called the American Males, only to turn on him in November of 1996 in order to join the NWO. And within this faction, he would start partnering up with Scott Norton, as the two would form Vicious and Delicious. Although this team would eventually quietly fizzle out, with Buff beginning to partner up with Scott Steiner instead. And in 2000, Buff would start partnering up with Lex Luger to form the team of Totally Buff. Staying with the NWO, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were of course the outsiders. However, going back to 1991, Diamond Dallas Page and Kevin Nash would be part of a tag team called the Vegas Connection, which itself was part of an even larger group called Diamond Mine, and in this stable they were not alone, as they had another partner in that team, a partner named the Diamond Stud, also known as Scott Hall. Eventually, the group would split up, with Hall becoming Razor Ramon, Nash becoming Diesel, and the NWO forming. But then, in 2000's WCW, to combat the team of the Natural Born Thrillers, DDP and Kevin Nash would find themselves reunited yet again, this time to form a brand new team called The Insiders. Starting in Ohio Valley Wrestling, John Morrison and Joey Mercury would begin teaming up alongside Melina. The act was brought onto the WWF main roster on SmackDown, where they would be known as M&M. The two would capture tag team gold relatively quickly after their debut. However, they would begin to dissolve in 2006 going into 2007. This was solidified further when both men found themselves on different shows. Although Morrison wouldn't find himself on his own for very long, as he began teaming up with The Miz, something that he would eventually eventually repeat upon returning to the company in 2019. And further still, Joey Mercury would become a part of J&J Security with Jamie Noble. Continuing with Ohio Valley Wrestling, Shelton Benjamin originally teamed up with Brock Lesnar in OVW to form the Minnesota Stretching Crew, but from there he was brought onto the main roster teaming up with Charlie Haas to form Team Angle, only to then change their names after separating from the Olympic gold medal hero. Although not soon after the name change, both wrestlers would find themselves on different brands, Shelton Benjamin becoming a single star over on Raw and Charlie Haas staying on SmackDown, and it was from here that he would find himself with the brand new tag team partner of Rico, and the two would also capture tag team gold as well. Going forward, Shelton would join the Hurt Business, as well as making allusions to his old tag team with Brock Lesnar in the 2020 Royal Rumble. And of course, ever since their team first broke up, both men would occasionally get back together again on more than one occasion and even in more than one company. And continuing with WWE Developmental, Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan were a tag team for a brief period of time in NXT. After failing to win tag team gold, the two would go their separate ways, with Jason Jordan eventually turning babyface and finding himself a new partner with the very persistent Chad Gable, forming the team of American Alpha. But then, after the team disbanded, Gable would find himself in a singles career, only to eventually team up with someone else who is just recovering from being a part of another tag team, the wrestler of Otis, who was a part of Heavy Machinery with his partner Tucker, and together Gable and Otis would form the team of Alpha Academy, a team that's still together as of this recording. Oh, and let's not forget that after the split, Jason Jordan would also win tag team gold with Seth Rollins. And man, does that Seth Rollins get around, because he's won tag team gold with
one who's got the most tag partners.
I've already done a video on that.
And where can we find said video?
I'll leave a link in just a little bit, but before I do, I want to thank all of you for watching, and I also want to thank all of my awesome Patreon supporters. And if you like this video, please make sure you give it a big like. Anyway, once again, thanks so much, and as always, Dave knows.